President Trump takes on California's sanctuary cities. Democrats refuse to disassociate from Louis Farrakhan, and the weather is getting stormy out there for the Trump administration. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is the Ben Shapiro Show. Oh, yes, we are here, and there is much news to cover. Some of it breaking. The president of the United States now seems to be backing off some of his tariff plans. He just said a moment ago that he has, quote, the right to go up or down on country, based on country. To which I say my 2-year-old son says the same about the seesaw, so that's very exciting. But I have many things to discuss with you, including it's International Women's Day, which is just fantastic. We'll talk about all of that. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at Thrive Market. So Thrive Market is the place that you are going to go from now on to get the best organic food. Okay, it's an online grocer with a mission to make healthy living affordable and accessible to everyone. You know, you're sick of going down to the Whole Foods and paying oversized prices to hang out with people who are annoying and drive Priuses and mess up your bumper and then drive away while virtue signaling all the while. You don't have to do that anymore. Now, you go over to my friends at Thrive Market. You can, with one click of a button, sort Thrive Market's catalog by 90 values based on your dietary needs, from vegan, gluten-free, paleo, non-GMO, and more. It's great for me. They even have a kosher value. They have a hyper-curated catalog. So instead of there being 15 almond butters at the local health store, all overpriced, instead, you're going to be able to search for the 3 to 4 best almond butters on Thrive Market, but you know that it's sourced from the best, with the best ingredients at the most affordable prices. They also have supplements. They have protein powders, which is something I take to get bulked up. Okay, and more on that we mentioned on the show at 50% off retail. All the best product over at Thrive Market. Imagine spending just $12 for almond butter instead of $16 at your local Whole Foods. And for all of my listeners right now, my friends at Thrive Market are offering you $60 of free groceries plus free shipping and a 30-day free trial, which is just an awesome deal. $60 of free groceries plus free shipping and a 30-day free trial when you sign up. Keep in mind, Thrive Market's prices are already 25 to 50% off retail, and now they are offering an extra $60 off of free groceries. Go to thrivemarket.com/Shapiro and get your instant $60 of free groceries. That's thrivemarket.com/Shapiro to get that instant $60 off for free groceries. So pretty spectacular stuff. And again, their prices are already less expensive. They already have better catalog, and you can curate by value. So there's no reason for you not to use thrivemarket.com/Shapiro. Use that /Shapiro so they know that we sent you and you get the special deal. Okay, so first of all, happy International Women's Day to all of my favorites. That's Nikki Haley. That is Condoleezza Rice. That is Margaret Thatcher. Long may her name be celebrated. That is Golda Meir. That is Susan B. Anthony. That's Harriet Tubman, the gun-packing Underground Railroad head. You know, lots of great women to celebrate today. I was mildly put off. Eve Pizer, who writes for, I believe, Salon.com, she tweeted out, "Men, please don't be annoying today. I'm begging you." Well, I mean, that's like a red flag in front of a bull for me. I mean, come on. First of all, let me just note about International Women's Day. Gender is a social construct, we have been told. Okay? So I don't know why, why is it that International Women's Day, are we celebrating biological women or are we celebrating gendered women? So does Caitlyn Jenner get to celebrate International Women's Day, or is Caitlyn Jenner a man? And if Caitlyn Jenner gets to celebrate International Women's Day, then why can't any other biological man celebrate International Women's Day by being a woman? Yeah, none of these answers are easy in coming, because if you think gender is a social construct, it makes the feminist movement very difficult to take. But, you know, I'm sorry to be annoying. I am a man. But for the purposes of this segment, let's just say that I'm a woman, and therefore I can comment on International Women's Day. Again, I'm perfectly fine with International Women's Day. It's fine. I don't care. Whatever. Good. Let's celebrate women. We'll celebrate my mom. My mom, who worked all through my childhood. My dad stayed at home and took care of the kids. We'll celebrate my wife, who, rumor has it, is a doctor. We'll celebrate all of the women who are working and all of the women who are staying at home. We'll see if any of the women who are pushing International Women's Day are celebrating stay-at-home moms who are home taking care of their children and ensuring that the next generation of Americans are better than the last generation of Americans. So, happy International Women's Day to everyone. With that proviso, again, remember, gender is a social construct. Okay, so in other news, Jeff Sessions is now going to war with my stupid state, the state of California. So he announced on Wednesday that he was going to escalate the Trump administration's war with California, suing over its so-called sanctuary state law and clashing with Democratic Governor Jerry Brown in a fiery exchange of words. So Sessions said, "I can't sit idly by while the lawful authority of federal officers are being blocked by legislative acts and politicians." Okay, so here's the legal case with regard to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. The federal government cannot force local law enforcement to do its bidding. So if the federal government says to local law enforcement, "We want you to arrest people for violation of federal immigration law," they can't do that. Okay, there's Posse Comitatus Act essentially forbids the use of of drafting local law enforcement into the effectuation of federal law. So you can't do that. So if there's a sanctuary city where the cops just say, listen, we're not going to enforce federal law, that is not illegal. It is illegal, however, if they're actively impeding people from following federal law. So if the cops are, for example, letting people out of prison, knowing that they are illegal immigrants, and then hiding that information from the feds, that is violation of federal law. So Sessions is saying that's exactly what California is doing. Jerry Brown, the governor of our stupid state, he, of course, is very upset about all this. He fired back on Jeff Sessions. He climbed out of bed, got on his walker, and then he just ripped into Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, lying about what happens here in the state of California. He always dies in the middle of my impersonations.
It's unfortunate.
Sessions said is simply not true. And I call upon him to apologize to the people of California, to bringing the mendacity of Washington to California and trying to insert discord and division, and I might add dysfunctionality in a state that's really working. So let's build some bridges, not walls.
Law enforcement in the state is not working. Crime rates have been rising. The homeless rate has been rising. Welfare payments have been rising. The state of California is a garbage heap, and that's largely thanks to the leadership of people like Governor Jerry Brown. Jeff Sessions particularly pointed out a situation in Oakland where apparently the story was that the city of Oakland had been actively impeding deportations. So Sessions criticized Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf for warning the public about an unannounced raid by federal deportation officers recently in California. Sessions said it allowed hundreds of wanted criminals to avoid arrest. And he said, how dare you needlessly endanger the lives of law enforcement just to promote your radical open borders agenda? And of course, Sessions is exactly right. That's what happens in the state of California. Because a huge percentage of voters in the state of California are Hispanic, a lot of the Democratic politicians think that Hispanics are necessarily going to vote in favor of a more open borders agenda. And so they pander by saying that they're going to resist federal law enforcement. Now, one of the things that's amazing is that you recall the Obama administration sued the state of Arizona when the state of Arizona was arresting people based on immigration status under SB 70, right? SB 70 was a law that was passed in the state of Arizona when Jan Brewer was governor that allowed local law enforcement to aid federal law enforcement by arresting people for violation of federal law. The Obama administration actually sued the state of Arizona, saying you guys can't enforce federal law, only we can enforce federal law. So according to Democrats, it's illegal to help enforce federal law, but it is not illegal to actively impede the investigation of federal law. Just amazing. Here's the Oakland mayor, Libby Schaaf, responding by saying that Jeff Sessions is, you guessed it, a racist.
How dare you vilify members of our community by trying to frighten the American public into thinking that all undocumented residents are dangerous criminals? How dare you distort the reality about declining violent crime in a diverse sanctuary city like Oakland, California, to advance your racist agenda?
Okay, except for the fact that the violent crime rate is apparently going up. So according to the Public Policy Institute of California, California's violent crime rate increased by 3.7% in 2016 to 444 per 100,000 residents. There were other recent upticks in 2012 and 2015. Obviously, this is not comparable to the 60s, but these upticks are troubling. And in the city of Los Angeles, for example, which is a sanctuary city, we have seen not only increased crime rates, we've also seen an attempt to obfuscate those increased crime rates by the simple ridiculous measure of reevaluating what exactly counts as a crime. So the police have basically been told that in order for them to hit certain marks, they should just redefine things from felonies to misdemeanors. There's a bill that passed recently. It was a referendum, actually, that passed recently in the state of California that redefined a bunch of felonies as misdemeanors and also allowed the state to allow people out of prison on misdemeanors. So if you just miscount the statistics, it's pretty easy to get to California has a lowered crime rate, even when the quality of life in California is declining. So is Jeff Sessions right to go after the state of California on all of this? Of course he is. Sessions in his speech referenced Confederate states that refuse to abide by federal law. Kamala Harris, the senator from California who wishes to run for president of the United States in 2020, she, of course, ripped into Jeff Sessions for making such a reference.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, Jeff Sessions should be advised, and I'll advise him right now, that it's a bad idea for him to start talking about anything to do with the history of slavery or Reconstruction or the Civil War in the United States. His credibility is pretty much shot on those issues.
Why? Why? Jeff Sessions prosecuted members of the KKK when he was a DA. Why exactly is his credibility shot on those issues? Because a white guy from the South? Is that the implication here? And then she suggested that Republicans are hypocritical because they're federalists when it comes to issues like environmentalism or drugs, but they're not federalists when it comes to immigration law. Well, of course we're not federalists when it comes to immigration law, in the sense that states should have control over their own borders, because that's one of the basic powers that is granted to a centralized federal government. That's just stupid. And she says, you can look at members of this administration, whether it's the head of the EPA when he was Attorney General of Oklahoma, said that federal emissions standards and other standards as it relates to greenhouse gas emissions should not apply to the states. What he actually says, the EPA does not have the federal authority under law to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, which is true. She says you can look at this Attorney General who said that imposing the terms of the Voting Rights Act on the states creates an undue burden and is meddling with the affairs of each state. That is also true. The Voting Rights Act, which was a federal attempt to get rid of racism in the registration of voters in the South and has been obsolete for decades now, that is a violation of state sovereignty. It clearly is under the Constitution. But it's amazing how folks on the left will conflate certain terminology in order to avoid the obvious implication of what they're doing, which is nullification of federal law. Sanctuary cities are a nullification of federal law, at least insofar as they are actively impeding the federal government from doing its job. Now, the question is whether the state of California can have its funds cut by the federal government, whether cities can have their funds cut by the federal government, because there are laws on the books. There are constitutional issues with regard to attaching strings to federal funding. But certainly, President Trump is supposed to come to California to talk about the sanctuary city issue in the next few days. It is an issue that is top of mind for a lot of people in the state of California. And I'm not somebody who's particularly radical on illegal immigration. Like, I'm not somebody who says that we ought to deport everybody who's here illegally. I think that we ought to go through and determine on a one-to-one basis whether people belong in the country or not, whether they are of use to the country or not. And if they are not, then we should deport them. But that's not the same thing as saying everybody who came here illegally should be deported. In fact, there's not a person living in Southern California who has not met or worked with an illegal immigrant at some point. But with all of that said, a state that is actively preventing the federal government from enforcing the law is violating the supremacy clauses of the Constitution of the United States, and there is no legal justification for anything remotely resembling that. Okay, in just a second, I'm going to talk about the continued radicalism of the Democratic Party. They're so radical that now they're embracing the idea that sanctuary cities can actually actively fight the federal law enforcement officers. But it gets even worse than that. Before we get to that, first I want to say thank you to our sponsors over at Tripping.com. So, when you plan a vacation, finding a place to stay that makes everybody happy is really tough. That's particularly true if you're staying in a hotel. So, my family, when we vacation, we can't stay at hotels because we need a kitchenette. Right? We keep kosher, so we bring a lot of our own food. And we have 2 kids. So if you stay in a hotel, you really think everybody's going to fall asleep at the same time? Good night. It ain't going to happen. This is why Tripping.com is the best. Tripping.com lets you, with one search, compare every home from the world's top vacation rental sites in one place to find the best deal on your perfect vacation rental. Vacation rentals are better. I mean, we're talking kitchens, we're talking washers and dryers, there's more space. It really is a home away from home as opposed to being crammed into a small room with a tiny mini fridge that refuses to cool to the proper temperature. Okay, Tripping.com is the best way to book a vacation rental. You can join the millions of travelers who find more savings with rates up to 80% less than traditional hotel rooms. So if you're planning a spring break on the beach in Florida, it's Tripping.com. If you can't wait to swim in Lake Tahoe this summer, Tripping.com. If you're dreaming of sitting on the deck of a Smoky Mountains cabin, Tripping.com. You want to go to Hawaii and you want to stay in a condo, Tripping.com. Again, this year, save time and money when you book the vacation home of your dreams with Tripping.com/Shapiro. That's TRIPPING.com/Shapiro. Find that perfect vacation rental. Tripping.com/Shapiro. Go check it out. Use that /Shapiro also so that they know that we sent you as well. Again, this is how we book all of our vacations in the Shapiro household, and for good reason. Okay, so there's still fallout for Democrats over the Louis Farrakhan hubbub. So Louis Farrakhan obviously is an anti-Semite. We played clips of him a couple of days ago in his latest iteration of anti-Semitism. He is still, for some odd reason, given a Twitter verified check mark. Which is an amazing thing, right? We were told that you would have your verification removed, like Richard Spencer had his verification removed by Twitter because he's a disgusting racist. Okay, I thought that was a bad move because verification on Twitter is supposed to be designed to prevent fraud. It's supposed to be designed to prevent people from pretending to be Richard Spencer, for example. Why you'd want to do that's beyond me. But pretend to be Richard Spencer, and that's what the check mark is for. So for fake Ben Shapiro accounts, they can be distinguished from the real Ben Shapiro account by the blue check mark. But Twitter decided they were going to use the blue check mark as a sign of approval. So they got rid of the blue check mark for Richard Spencer. They did not get rid of it for Louis Farrakhan. So Louis Farrakhan is out there tweeting, making a fool of himself And he's also, I mean, he tweeted this 24 hours ago. The FBI has been the worst enemy of black advancement